Hey, what's up guys? Good to do another knife review. You're looking at 4 different knives here, but none of them are the one I'm reviewing today. This is the knife I'm reviewing today, and this is an Ontario Utilitac 2 folder. This one happens to be in the plain edge Tanto version, or Tanto. There's a bunch of different variations on this knife, which we're going to talk about later in the review, but I want to start off talking about these 4 knives. What do these 4 knives have in common? We have an Ontario Rat 1 folder. We have a Buck Vantage. We have a Spyderco Tenacious. And we have Kershaw Skyline. Now most of you know all 4 of these knives. Particularly if you've been on YouTube for a while in the knife community, you've seen all 4 of these knives over and over and over again. Then you saw them again. Then you're looking for something else and you saw them again. Because they're all over the place. Why? Because they're budget folders that actually work well. When there's a good knife on the market, whether it's cheap or expensive, if the right people happen to talk about it, it gets a lot of exposure. Now, all 4 of these knives got lots of exposure over the last couple of years. All 4 of them, if you notice, are very similar in a lot of different ways. First of all their blades are very simple designs. There's nothing extreme here, there's nothing funky. A lot of slight belly, a lot of pointy tips, no serrations, okay? You'll notice all 4 have black handles. All 4 of these knives have simple liner locks. Okay, liner lock, liner lock, liner lock. What do you think? Yep, liner lock. And all 4 very, very cheap. My whole point here is that you don't always have to spend an arm and a leg to get a fantastic knife that's actually going to perform for you well, and you don't really have to worry or baby as much. Okay, I use all the knives I have. Some I do baby more than others. I don't want to admit it, but I do. If I have a $25 knife in my pocket, I have no problem taking it out, cutting something, don't think twice about it. If I got that $200 or $300 knife in my pocket, I'll still break it out, I'm ready to cut something, but I'm not going all willy-nilly in there. I'm being a little bit more careful, trying not to scratch my knife up as much, you know, or possibly have issues with it. So anyway, let's go over some of the features and specs and whatnot. We got a AUS 8A stainless blade, no surprise, very common. Some of your Sandvik steels, your AUS 8, AUS 8A, AUS 6, AUS 4, 440C, all these steels that are very common in this price range. It's just how it works. This is where the materials come into play. All right, you'll hear about different blade steels, higher end stuff, and do they add $300-400 to the price of the knife? No. They do add a little bit of consideration towards price, but usually when you're paying a couple $100 for a knife, it's not just because of the blade steel. That's one small detail. But like I said, I mean, it's kind of the usual suspects here. AUS 8A is still a fantastic steel in my opinion. It's a working man steel. If you know how to sharpen and maintain your knives, it's never going to be an issue for you. Okay, it will hold and maintain an edge adequately. It's not going to be superb. It's not going to stink. It's going to be somewhere in between. 3.5 inches of that, so to speak. Tanto blade shape, as you could see, definitely a wider blade, much wider, and also more of a triangular tip. Some Tanto blades have more of an abrupt tip like this, okay, which actually have a little bit more of a narrow angle. So if you were to use this for penetration, which the Tanto, you know, excels at, if you're stabbing into things, you'll have less resistance. This is a more robust, more kind of beefy, in-your-face, hard-use knife, as opposed to the sleek or slender, more Japanese-style Tanto blades. All right. Speaking of which, this is an Americanized Tanto in that you do have basically your straight edge, okay, from the ricasso. Generally speaking, you're not going to have a whole lot of curvature in here. Not talking about any recurves, not talking about any belly. It's just a straight shot. Then you'll have a complete angle change, which gives you your secondary point here, and that'll be it. Whereas a Japanese style Tanto blade will have more of a curved secondary point. It's a much less abrupt transition. Visually, I mean, in the future I'll compare them and I'll do more information on that, but this is the Americanized style Tanto. And in fact, this specific example of the Tanto is a beefier, more stout version, okay? Double thumb studs or ambidextrous thumb studs on here. You can see they're away from the handle, so they don't act as your blade stops. You have a separate pin for that. They are dedicated thumb studs, and they work very well for that. They are kind of a pyramid shape, but not as pointy. Some examples of pyramid thumb studs that I do not like, the one that stands out the most and will always stand out is the Kershaw Vapor series. The Kershaw Vapor, Vapor 1 and Vapor 2, they have a very pointy thumb stud that really is very uncomfortable, okay, and hard to use. This, not so much. This works just fine. You can open it nice and slowly if you want, so you don't scare all the sheeple out there, or you can kind of flick it open. Either way, righty or lefty. Speaking of righty or lefty, we also have our pocket clip drilled for all 4 positions. Tip up, tip down, left hand carry, right hand carry, which we love. And of course, how most of you guys are going to probably mount this and carry it is a tip up right hand style carry. Common pocket clip, Benchmade style. Nothing fancy or anything like that. I know a lot of people these days, and there's a lot more talk about this, people preferring the overlapped pocket clips, where they're basically low riding clips. I don't have any issue with this. This is about how much knife is sticking out of your pocket. Doesn't bother me none. I'm really very versatile when it comes to that. I do prefer a deeper carry clip on my knives. It's not going to make or break the purchase or sale or trade of a knife. I'm not going to go, oh, I love that knife, and oh, not a deep carry. Sorry, not for me. I am pretty versatile. I kind of like everything. I am cutlery lover. I love it all. I have preferences. I have some things I like more than others, but there's very little in the knife world that I just dislike so much that I'm not interested in it. I'll try anything once. Anyway, we have a, the retention on the pocket clip is great. Just so you know, that's probably, if you're talking about a pocket clip, style, carry, how many screws are in it, whatever, the most important part of it is to talk about the retention. Some pocket clips are way too floppy, they don't hold. Some are way too tight, they actually rip up your pants. Talk about the material underneath it, all that kind of stuff. But all you really need to know as far as pocket clip goes in a review are 2 things. The retention, how tight is it? Is it good to carry with that kind of not too tight, not too loose feel, as well as the material underneath it. Is it going to rip your pants up? Well, at this point in the game, either you have ripped up pockets from your knives, or you've learned to not carry the ones that are very aggressive as often. It's not really a huge consideration. I'll talk about it in a review, but you guys know the deal by now, all right? If you get something and you got like Emerson type G10, it's like sandpaper, 0 grit sandpaper, then of course you're not going to keep taking it out of your pocket all the time and going to rip up your pants. But if you look out there, there's actually more tactical pants that actually have reinforced padding right where you'd carry a pocket knife. Very smart pants people, all the pants companies out there. But anyway, material on here is very smooth. It's a straight up Zytel. You have full steel liners on this knife. Let's take a look at those real quick. And guess what? They're just straight steel. You can see there's no milling in them, except for the cutout here for the liner lock. And that will add weight. Speaking of weight, 5.6 ounces on this. Yep, it's a chunk of steel and Zytel. But that's what you get. But with this knife, I'm expecting that, and I wouldn't want this necessarily to be a real light knife. Sure, a lot of you guys out there you're very into not having heavy knives, but this is the whole idea behind this knife is being stout, sturdy, strong, beefy. Heft is in that realm. All right, you wouldn't really expect this to be a very light knife. But yeah, just so you know, it is on the chunky side and slightly heavier. But the full stainless liners, it will give you a little bit of an advantage as far as torque. If for some reason, some crazy reason, you're putting any kind of twisting motion on your knife, you will have more stability and more strength around your pivot. Don't do that. It's a knife. Keep it nice and sharp. Slice things with it. Occasionally stab something, perhaps because you're bored. Or, more importantly, if you need to defend your life and you have to use a stabbing motion. But these considerations, they're something to talk about. They're really not considerations. Most of you out there aren't going to need full steel line folders. You might want them because you think it's cool. Hey, whatever floats your boat. Just telling you how it is. But on the whole realm of things, if you're a soldier out there and you're watching knife reviews, yes, this may be very important to you. You do want something that's strong. You don't want something flimsy. You don't want something, if you're actually using your knife to survive, whether it's defensively or in some kind of a survival, type scenario, yes, these are serious considerations. But you couch potatoes who happen to have a nice little knife collection and like spending some time on YouTube watching knife reviews, you don't need to consider whether it's skeletonized or not. Just saying. Myself included. I don't need a knife like that. Do I want one like that? Sure, sometimes. Anyway, moving on. Just a little dose of reality and honesty there. The overall length on here is exactly 8 inches, measured it myself. 3.5 blade and 4.5 closed. So Yes, I did path math. I passed math class. Yeah, I passed. Oh God, passed math class. Apparently not English. Yeah, so that's 8 inches overall. As far as ergos on this, it's comfortable. With the jimping here, it's on the spine as well. You can see it's kind of a larger pattern there, but on the smoother side, it's actually really comfortable to get in deep. Some serrations are more aggressive and they do feel like they offer more grip, but I'm telling you, if you actually work with your knives, you'll find that that kind of stuff rips your fingers up pretty easily and it ends up being more uncomfortable. When you pick a knife up to look at it and you go like this, oh yeah, that's secure. That's completely different than rubbing your finger over and over and over on it every time you cut something. So getting out and using your knives is a whole different experience than playing with them on your couch. So in this case, the slightly rounded jimping, some people might not like that, but I'm here to tell you, it's better. Okay, when you're actually using a knife, unless you're using it gloved, that's a different situation. It will be more friendly on your skin. Okay, of course that runs down here. It is very comfortable. Okay, with bare hands like this, it's very comfortable in the hand. Ergonomics are pretty good. It's not the most comfortable knife I've ever had in my hand, but it's definitely adequate. There's nothing that says uncomfortable on here. Of course, it's on the butt end of the knife here as well. And in fact, in the reverse grip, it feels really good. And this is something you can feel comfortable in if you were to stab something, whether it's for fun or serves an actual purpose. If you wanted to stab some stuff, you could have a very good, comfortable grip on here, as well as a lanyard hole, allowing you to have a nice little lanyard for its actual function wrapped around your wrist so it won't slip out of your hands. But for a folding knife, it's not something you're going to need, just something you might want. There is a little bit of some detail work here on the liner, which actually does aid in grabbing that liner. It does give you a little bit of grip here. You can quickly, access that. Some liners are kind of sharp on the corners. When the metal's cut out, it's not really rounded. And it can be uncomfortable if you're opening and closing your knives a lot, as most of us do. We play with them, we open them, we close them. So this does allow for, an easy, quick accessibility to your liner lock. That's pretty much it, folks. I like the knife. I really do. There's really not a whole lot not to like about it, unless you just don't like tantos. And if you don't like tantos, then hey, get a spear point blade. That's all. A lot of different variety. I will say, if you're someone out there in general, if you like combo edge blades, definitely give the combo edge version a shot. Having a full run of serrations here actually gives you purposeful serrations. Now the serration pattern or style, I think is good. I mean, visually, I have not had it personally. There are certain serrations I like the most, or I should say the most functional, best serrations that I personally like for an EDC knife would have to be Kershaw's straight scallop. That's straight up just rounded, scalloped serrations. By far the best I've ever used, because first of all, I can actually sharpen them properly. And second of all, there's no real teeth to snag on stuff. They serve their purpose as serrations, but they're very smooth and fluent as if it's a straight edge. So definitely my favorite. But yeah, if you're a combo edge guy, get the combo edge version. It's pretty cool. And I believe they even make that with the spear point blade as well, or modified spear point, just like this is a modified tanto. Yep, pretty much it. The Ontario Utilitac 2 is definitely, it's one of those ones I think should get more exposure. If you guys have these knives, please make reviews on them. I mean, I don't search on YouTube as much as I used to, and particularly if I'm doing a review of a product, I do not look at any reviews until after I've posted my own. I don't want to be subjected to anyone's personal opinion. I don't want that stuck in my head. If someone does a review on this knife and they're like, my screw is stripped, then what am I going to do? I'm going to look at mine. Is my screw stripped? I don't want any information in my mind that's going to alter or allow me to focus specifically on something else because someone else noticed it. I like to do it just very unbiasedly. Now, after I post a review on something, sure, I'll look around and see what other people are saying about it. And of course, because I'm subscribed to like 430 different channels, sometimes I will see something beforehand accidentally, and I'll just be like, whatever. But anyway, yes, this is definitely a great consideration for a good, affordable knife, hard use knife that I think you guys can enjoy and like and use all the time and not have to worry about babying it or getting scratched or losing it. God forbid. I knock on wood, I don't think I've ever lost a knife in my entire life. So I feel very fortunate for that. But hey, if you're into all these other knives, you're missing out if you haven't checked the Utilitac too. So that's all. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate your time as always, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.